Hello, good evening and welcome to Parliament News. I am Gautam Roy. Well, the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021 was taken up for consideration in the Lok Sabha on Tuesday, with the ruling BJP asserting that it would put India at the forefront of the battle to save the ecosystems of the world, and the opposition pushing for incorporating the suggestions of a parliamentary panel. Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Bhupendra Yadav moved the bill for consideration and passage. The minister said a special chapter has been added to conform to the International Treaty Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. He said the bill makes amendments for better management of protected areas and inserts an explanation so as to provide for certain permitted activities such as grazing or movement of livestock, bona fide use of drinking and household water by local communities. Initiating the debate on the bill, Congress MP Pradyut Bardolai hailed the role of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in conserving the environment. He also flagged the issue of people in Assam who were not getting benefits despite Agar wood being used in a big way. Bardolai also highlighted that elephants need friendly atmosphere which should be ensured, and they should not be transferred to unfriendly areas. He also urged the government to adopt the recommendations of the parliamentary panel. BJP MP Kirti Vardhan Singh asserted that India is leading the world in protecting the environment. Under able leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we are gradually reviving our glorious past and culture. This will be a step in that direction. We are leading the world in the fight to protect the environment. The enactment of this bill will put us at the forefront of the battle to save the ecosystems of our planet. That's what he said. Participating in the debate, DMK's A. Raja said the minister's intention was laudable, but the government's implementation still raises question marks. He said the role of states has not been given enough attention in the amendments. Raja also said the National Board of Wildlife, that's the NBWL, has not had a meeting for 8 years, but more authorities and panels have been created in the bill. The Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021 seeks to conserve and protect wildlife through better management of protected areas and rationalized schedules which list out species under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It was introduced in the Lok Sabha in December last year. According to the Statement of Objects and Reasons of the bill, the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 was enacted to provide for the protection of wild animals, birds and plants with a view to ensure the ecological and environmental security of the country. The bill also seeks to include the aspects of conservation and management of wildlife which are covered by the Act. The bill seeks to enable control of invasive alien species and allow for transfer or transport of live elephants by persons having ownership certificates in accordance with conditions prescribed by the central government. It also proposes to insert a new chapter 5B in the Principal Act for Regulation of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora and allow state boards for wildlife to constitute standing committees. India is a party to the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, which requires that appropriate measures are taken to enforce the provisions of the Convention. The bill was referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Science and Technology, Environment, Forest and Climate Change on the 25th of December. The panel, chaired by Congress leader Jairam Ramesh, has cautioned against encouraging the sale and purchase of captive elephants and recommended the need to strike a careful balance between tradition and conservation. The committee, in its report on the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021, had said it is deeply conscious of the fact that a number of religious and cultural institutions in some states own elephants which play a crucial role in daily worship and rituals. It said it is in broad agreement with the amendments proposed for the improved care of seized and surrendered wild animals. However, an amendment that provides for transfer or transport of elephants as per conditions prescribed by the central government has raised serious concern in the wildlife conservation community, including amongst some state governments, said the report. Earlier, Lok Sabha witnessed heated arguments between the Treasury and opposition benches over the issue of farm loan waivers, with Speaker Om Birla making an intervention and telling the members that advances under the Kisan Credit Card scheme are not written off. While asking a supplementary query, NCP member Supriya Sule sought to know whether the government has any plans to waive off the loans given to the farmers under the Kisan Credit Card scheme. Replying to the question, Purushottam Rupala, Union Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, said it was for the first time in last so many decades that Prime Minister Modi has extended the scheme to fishermen and dairy farmers, as the KCC was earlier confined only to agricultural farmers. He said its main aim is to provide small farmers institutional credit up to 1.6 lakh rupees without any collateral. Besides, Rupala said if a farmer repays the loan promptly, he or she would get 3% interest subvention from the central government, and some state governments too provide interest subvention up to 4% to KCC borrowers. So virtually a farmer is not paying any interest on his loan if it is paid on time. That's what he said. Supriya Sube and other opposition members then said the minister was not giving the answer to the specific question on whether the government was planning to waive off the KCC loans taken by farmers, to which Rupala reacted strongly. He said the opposition was only providing lip service and the actual welfare work for farmers is being done by Prime Minister Modi. When other opposition members also protested, the speaker tried to calm them down by saying that as per his knowledge, the loans given under the KCC are never waived off. DMK members also protested strongly when Union Minister for State for Fisheries and Animal Husbandry L. Murugan said the Modi government has been pursuing welfare schemes as per the BJP election manifesto, while some political parties and their state governments were not doing so. DMK members led by its leader T.R. Balu protested about the remarks made by Murugan, who hails from Tamil Nadu. Balu accused Murugan of playing politics rather than properly replying to a bona fide question related to fishermen. The speaker then told the DMK members that the minister has neither named any political party nor any state and that they should not be offended. A union minister on Tuesday alleged in Lok Sabha that ministers in the West Bengal government do not pick up telephone calls even if they are called 10 times. Union Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment Pratima Bhaumik said this while discussing issues related to implementation of PM Daksh scheme under her ministry, raised by BJP MP from West Bengal SS Ahluwalia, who asked whether the minister would talk to the officials concerned to sort the issues out. Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who is from West Bengal, urged the minister to help develop Murshidabad and said that it has become a habit for people in West Bengal to not attend to calls and not listen to us. In response, Bhaumik said that for the past 1 year, since she became a minister, she has been trying to distribute appliances worth 12 crore rupees to differently abled and senior citizens in the district, but has not been successful. There were loud protests in the House by Trinamool Congress members against the remarks by the minister and Chaudhary. Pradhan Mantri Dakshta or Kushalta Sampann Hitgrahi PM Daksh aims at skilling the youth of various backward classes, including scheduled castes. A strong demand was made in the Lok Sabha to name the new All India Institute of Medical Sciences at Mangalgiri in Andhra Pradesh after noted freedom fighter Pingali Venkaya. Raising the issue during 0 hour, Lok Sabha member from Machilipatnam, Balashori Vallabheneni, recalled that Venkaya had designed the flag on which the national tricolour was based upon. Vallabheneni, a member of the Vaisa Congress Party, noted that August 2nd was the birth anniversary of Venkaya. He also noted that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had referred to the contribution of Venkaya in his Mann Ki Baat radio program on Sunday, where he had appealed to citizens to hoist a tricolour in their homes from the 2nd to the 15th of August to mark 75 years of independence. To quote him, I urge the government to name the aims at Mangalagiri as Pingali Venkaya Aims. That's what Vallabheneni said. In 1916, Venkaya had published a book offering 30 designs of what could make the Indian flag. Venkaya's design for the national flag was finally approved by Mahatma Gandhi at the Vijayawada Congress in 1921. BJP MP Dinesh Lal Yadav Nirahua on Tuesday made a strong pitch in the Lok Sabha for the inclusion of Bhojpuri in the list of official languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. In his maiden speech in the Lok Sabha, Yadav said Bhojpuri was spoken in 16 countries and the Geet Gavai tradition has been recognized by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage at the request of Mauritius. Yadav, who won the Lok Sabha by-poll from Azamgarh in June, slammed the previous UPA government for allegedly making false assurances on including Bhojpuri in the 8th schedule. He said Bhojpuri traces its roots to at least 1,000 years in history, and so far 16 private member bills have been introduced in Parliament to include it in the 8th schedule. To quote him, now we have Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, who is known to make the impossible possible. I am confident that the government will take steps to include Bhojpuri in the 8th schedule, said Yadav, who is a popular Bhojpuri actor singer as well. BJP Lok Sabha member Gopal Shetty on Tuesday urged the government to take up the issue of pending visa applications, particularly of students with embassies of foreign countries. Raising the issue during 0 hour, Shetty said several students who had returned to India during the COVID pandemic and the Ukraine war were finding it difficult to get visas to pursue studies abroad. To quote him, several students had paid 10 to 15 lakh rupees as fees and finding it difficult to get visas as several embassies are still closed. The problem is particularly acute with Canada, where more than 1 lakh visa applications are pending, Shetty said. He said cultural troops from Gujarat were finding it difficult to get visa for performances in the US. Shetty, who is a member from Mumbai North, urged the government to take up the issue with respective countries and also issue a clarification to the effect, as the problem was with the embassies and not with the External Affairs Ministry. BSP member Shyam Singh Yadav demanded reinstatement of the old pension scheme, contending that several pensioners were finding it difficult to make ends meet with the meagre payouts under the new pension scheme. DMK leader T.R. Balu raised the issue of recruitment by Niveri Lignite Corporation based on graduate aptitude test in engineering, that's the GATE scores. Balu claimed that NLC was in violation of the social justice and reservation policies, making recruitments using GATE scores. To quote him, graduate aptitude test in engineering is only to select graduates for postgraduate courses in engineering and technology streams. Balu said that NLC has already selected 299 people as graduate executive trainees and contended that the recruitment was in violation of the reservation policies of the centre as well as the state government. BJP member from Hoshangabad, Uday Pratap Singh, sought appointment of administrative officers as director and president of AIIMS, contending that hospital administration was a specialized subject. He said there were irregularities in administration of blood banks at AIIMS, Bhopal, where patients were given blood of the wrong blood group. Singh claimed that there was also an instance at AIIMS, Bhopal, where a patient was given HIV-infected blood, which had led to his death. Congress member S. Tirunavukurasar wanted the government to establish an Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research in his Tiruchirappalli constituency in Tamil Nadu. BJP member Tapir Gao from Arunachal East wanted the centre to approve schemes for restoration of roads and bridges that get washed away due to heavy rains in the northeastern region. The Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021, which seeks to conserve and protect wildlife through better management of protected areas, was on Tuesday passed in the Lok Sabha by voice vote. Replying to 4-hour-long debate, Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav said the NDA government is committed to carrying out development activities along with protecting the environment. He said the government works on the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and is working towards the betterment of all wildlife species alongside humans. Yadav said if forests are people's heart, wetlands are kidneys and wetlands purify the environment and should be saved. He said a special chapter has been added to conform to the International Treaty Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said no opportunity was given to civil society to give their views on the proposed legislation. SP member S.T. Hassan urged the government to rename Nilgai as wild horse to overcome the taboo of killing the animal, which is known to come in herds and destroy standing crops. It is illegal to kill Nilgai in the country until it is declared a vermin by the state government. Nilgai is the largest Asian antelope. Hassan also raised the issue of monkeys destroying crops in parts of western Uttar Pradesh. Hindu sentiment and faith is attached with monkeys, which destroy sugarcane crops, he said. There should be order to capture wild pigs and Nilgai for saving crops of farmers, he said, adding that the government should consider to change the name of Nilgai as Jangli Ghoda or wild horse. Janardhan Mishra of the BJP to raise the issue of Nilgai and wild pigs destroying crops of farmers. Mishra also urged the government to provide adequate compensation to farmers if their crops are destroyed by wild animals. On the issue of human-wildlife conflict, Hasnain Masoodi of the Nationalist Congress said there is need to focus on the issue as many people have lost their lives. Now let's move on to Rajya Sabha. Well, the logjam in the Rajya Sabha between the Treasury benches and the opposition on rising inflation and other issues continued for the second day of the third week, with the upper house witnessing uproar by the opposition during the 0 hour on the issue of price rise. When the house met for the day, the opposition members were up on their feet to demand a discussion on the issue of price rise. Even though the government agreed to hold a discussion on the issue later in the day, opposition members demanded that the discussion on price rise be held immediately after the laying of papers in the House. Rejecting the demand of the opposition, Chairperson M. Venkaiah Naidu said that the discussion would only take place at the allotted time. Not satisfied with the ruling of the chairman, the opposition stuck to its demand for an immediate discussion on the issue. Appeals by the chairperson to the opposition to maintain order and allow the 0 hour to proceed fell on deaf ears as opposition members continued to demand a discussion. Amid the opposition protests, the chairman said, "Do you want the House to be adjourned for the day?" Now, with the opposition members persisting with their demand, the chairperson adjourned the House till 12 in the noon. The opposition has been disrupting the House since the start of the monsoon session of Parliament, demanding a discussion on price rise and other issues. When the House reassembled at 1200 hours, the acting chairperson, Bhubaneswar Kalita, proceeded with question hour. Responding to a question, Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary said that the government is taking steps to check depreciation of rupee vis-a-vis the US dollar. However, the opposition expressed dissatisfaction with the reply. Responding to the question, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said, and I quote, "There is no collapse of rupee. Rupee fluctuations are only vis-a-vis dollars. If you compare Indian rupee with other currencies, it is appreciating in value. It is actually finding its natural course." Despite pandemic and Russian-Ukraine war, Indian currency is at a steady level. This is the Amrit Kal for us. Compare this to situation during previous government when India was among the fragile five and inflation was in double digits for over 20 months. On concerns of foreign reserves coming down, the minister said that India has $571.56 billion of foreign reserves in July. We are comfortably placed as far as foreign reserves are concerned, she said. Responding to a separate question, the finance minister said the GST collection in road and infrastructure cess has come down because of decrease in excise on petrol and diesel. Replying to another question, she said that the GST contribution to Panchayat Raj system has already gone up. Responding to another question, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that the government is monitoring situation arising from the spread of monkeypox in the country. He said that several steps are being taken to check the spread of monkeypox. The minister said that the government is taking a proactive approach to prevent the spread of the disease, including setting up a task force to prevent its spread and spreading awareness about the disease across the country. He said that Indian scientists have isolated monkeypox virus to develop a vaccine against the disease in the near future through research. In the post-lunch session, the House took up a short-duration discussion on rising prices of essential commodities. Initiating the debate, Elamaram Karim of CPIM said there has been a skyrocketing rise in prices of essential commodities in the last 7 years of the NDA government. To quote him, in the last 5 years, the price of rice, wheat increased by 24%, while that on pulses increased by 20 to 30%. Cooking oil prices have also risen, making it unaffordable for people, he said. He said the government must tax the rich and not burden the common people. He said that farmers produced record production for the last several years. To quote him again, despite the abundance of farmers are struggling to get remunerative prices and consumers are burdened by high prices, he said. Prakash Javadekar of the BJP said that rise in prices of crude is governed by international factors. On depreciation of rupee vis-a-vis dollar, he said this is a problem of the world, not just India. He said that the Narendra Modi government has enhanced the reach of food security in the country. He said that the Modi government has worked constantly to check inflation levels in the country. To quote him again, IMF in its recent report said that India is among the fastest growing economies in the world. Shakti Singh Goyal of the Congress said that it is a matter of concern that instead of checking prices, the government increased GST on food items, putting a burden on the common man. To quote him, when prices of crude are coming down, the prices of petrol and diesel are increasing, he said. Speaking on the debate, Derek O'Brien of the Trinamool Congress said that if inflation in the United States is 9% and India's inflation is 7%, why is the rupee still depreciating against the dollar? He said the government was warned by the opposition about the implementation of GST, demonetization and lockdown. However, the government did not heed the warning. He said that this was the reason why the BJP lost in West Bengal. He challenged Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to respond to questions on high taxes on essential items. Tiruchi Siva of the DMK said that the high taxes are creating a burden on the common man. He said that it is a matter of concern that even when a person dies, 18% GST is to be paid even at the crematorium. He said the government must make efforts to improve the value of the rupee. Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party said that on one hand the government is burdening the common man under the burden of heavy taxes, and on the other, friends of Narendra Modi have benefited. Vijay Sai Reddy of the YSRCP expressed concern on the rising inflation in the country. He said that simply quoting high rates of inflation in US and UK is not an excuse for inaction on unabated price rise in India. Sujit Kumar of the BJD said that price rise has a direct impact on midday meal schemes. He said that if the price rise continues, bulk of Indian youth will fall into debt trap. Expressing concern on rising inflation, Vijay Sai Reddy of the YSR Congress Party said that the government has failed to control inflation, terming inflation as violative of Article 38 of the Constitution, which states that the state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities of status, facilities and opportunities. Biren Prasad Baisha of the AGP called for a fixed tax structure for petroleum products across the country. Sudhanshu Trivedi of the BJP said that inflation rate in India is far less compared to other countries in the world. To quote him, inflation in India is 7%, while some countries have their inflation rates at 100 or 50% or 200%. In this context, he said that the world's biggest economy, America, had to open a strategic oil reserve for the first time in order to curtail inflation. Raghav Chadha of the Aam Aadmi Party said that it is a matter of concern that rural inflation in India is higher compared to urban inflation. He said that a farmer is bearing the brunt of inflation both as a producer and as a consumer. To quote him again, the cost of food production in the past year has risen by nearly 21%. This means that while the farmer is paying more for production, his income, which was promised to be doubled by the centre, is not at par with his expenses. He said the government has failed to pass on reduction in international crude prices to the common man. Rajni Ashok Rao Patil of the Congress expressed concern on the rise in price of LPG cylinder. Fawzia Khan of the NCP expressed concern on levying of GST on basic commodities. She said that the hike in GST on basic commodities and cess on fuels is a means to generate more money to run the government. Replying to the debate, the finance minister said that the government is always keen for debates on important issues like price rise. She said that compared to the situation prevailing in many other countries, India is in a much better situation. To quote her, our macroeconomic indicators are stronger compared to many developed countries. At the same time, she said that the government is not in denial about price rise. She said that the government and RBI have been taking all steps to keep inflation under check. On opposition criticism of GST on food items, she said that the GST on food items was unanimously adopted by the Council. To quote her again, not one state or opposition member opposed the levy of GST on food items, she said. She also said that the food items being consumed by the poor have been exempted from a levy of GST. She said that the GST Council has applied its mind on the issue at several levels to make sure that items being used by the poor stay exempted from GST levy. Derek O'Brien of the Trinamool Congress sought to raise a point of order. When the chair declined his request, he walked out of the House in protest. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman clarified that there was no GST on crematoriums. She said that the price of Jan Aushadhi medicines has been lower by 50 to 80% from market prices. She also said that Jan Aushadhi Kendras have helped bring affordable medicine to the poor. And that's all we have for the moment in Parliament News. For all the latest, stay with DD India.